Good morning and welcome to Entrepreneurs Hour, right here on WRFR 93.3 FM. Every week on Entrepreneurs Hour, we dive into stories of triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned, highlighting how local organizations and individuals are working together to foster a thriving business ecosystem right here in Knox County and beyond. Whether you're starting a business, growing one, or supporting the local entrepreneurial community, this show is exactly for you. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Austin. I'm your host and president of Ardea, proud sponsor of this show. Ardea is located in Rockport, and we help small businesses and nonprofits with bookkeeping, large-scale accounting, payroll, payment solutions, and tax services. I'm also the president of the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs and a member of the NSBA Leadership Council, representing the Maine small business community on a local, state, and national level. I created the show to help entrepreneurs navigate the complexities of running a small business by providing a platform where entrepreneurs can share their journeys and highlight some amazing partners in our region, showcasing the impactful ways they're helping small businesses and entrepreneurs succeed. Let's learn, inspire, and support one another as we continue to build a stronger small business community together. Now, let's get started with today's show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Chris Austin here. I just wanted to say good morning to all in our frozen landscape of Midcoast, Maine. Today, we have a very special conversation that we're going to be having. And so I'm actually going to be wearing a hat today as a guest as well. So today there'll be three guests. And we're going to be talking about the PBCC, which is a new acronym that we've learned, or learning, I guess, and that's the Penobscot Bay Community Collaboration. Right now, it's not a organization. It's simply a way for all of the area business groups to be able to coordinate together, collaborate together, and create some pretty special things in our community, especially with the shuttered Penn Bay Chamber. We're going to need to really step up in order to be able to fill some of those community gaps. So today we're going to have again some great guests. We're going to talk about some of the different initiatives that we're doing in some of our different communities as well. So again, good morning, everyone. I have our first guest, Erick Anderson. He's the chair of the Camden Area Business Group, a leader in the community in this collaboration effort as well. Erick, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. And then we have Brandy Perkins. Brandy is the programs director for Rockland Main Street Incorporated, with a deep focus on strengthening downtown businesses and community events as well. So Brandy, good morning.
Good morning.
And as you all know, our listeners, I'm Chris Austin. I'm the president of the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs. Rock Coast Entrepreneurs is focused on really the execution and the support of entrepreneurs in our landscape, providing networking opportunities, educational opportunities as well. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll jump right in. So, I would say that we all felt some heartache, and when we had heard that our beloved chamber was closing. Some of us have spent a lot of years dedicating our service to that organization as well. I know, Erick, you served on that board. I served on that board. Brandy, you were involved in that organization. Were you ever on the board?
I was never on the board. I attended so many of them, and I think I met both of you there.
You sure did, yeah. And what we're finding is that our community is feeling what many communities across the country is feeling with chambers shuttering all over the place. This isn't something special that's happening just to our region. It's unfortunate. But today it's not about why the chamber closed. It's not about we're replacing the chamber. It is about how three organizations, amongst others, are stepping up to fill the gaps of the Chamber of Commerce in our region. And some of those staples that we had talked about before have to go on. Because our business community depends on them, because they're just fantastic things. So today, I think it's we'll just start off with, the creation of this group. Again, it was to create a collaboration, just basically just kind of sit down, take a pause and say, all right, what gaps are out there? Like, what events should continue to go on? How can we all step up? And I think, and this is a all-in conversation, so we're going to kind of go with the flow today. But, like the Rockcoast entrepreneurs, we are like the networkers. We are the educational, movement for entrepreneurs. This show was kind of an idea from that group. You have the Camden Area Business Group. So tell us a little bit about, Eric, about the Camden Area Business Group and that focus of what you guys do each and every single month.
Sure. The Camden Area Business Group is a collaboration of surrounding towns of Camden, Rockport, Lincolnville, and Hope. That's who makes up the members of the Camden Area Business Group. Acronym CABG. We focus on the vitality and beautification of the downtown, supporting the community, and actually really connecting the community with the downtown itself. So a lot of what you see Camden Area Business Group doing is beautifying through some key events throughout the year, whether it's Christmas by the Sea, the fireworks, Camden is Blooming, or supporting others, like other events that are put on by other organizations, such as the Windjammer or Toboggan.
Awesome. And Brandy, explain how Rockland Main Street saw an opportunity to step up during this transitional period, and just talk about some of those key programs that Rockland Main Street's known for, and some of the work that you and some amazing board members are doing in your community.
Sure. So we actually have some nice, fresh people on our board this past year that have stepped in, that have really stepped up. What are we doing? What do we need to do? The same kind of idea. What kind of gaps do we need to fill? Because we can't just stay the same all the time, but there are certain things that people will want and expect. Much like with the Chamber Shuttering, we have expectations as local businesses and the community of things that are happening in our area that we want to continue and figure out a way to do that, which, as we all know, requires a lot of hats and a lot of volunteering and making things happen on our own. So Rockland Main Street Inc. is a nonprofit. We put on the summer solstice every year. We have a new Maritime Heritage Festival that started last year in July. We also put on the Festival of Lights celebration, which this year, it was pretty much a month-long celebration of all the Christmas season, Hanukkah season, and we added a new Rock Local and Win program to encourage people to shop downtown, which then in turn encouraged them to turn in cards and get free swag from all of the Rockland downtown merchants and beyond. Because even though the legal footprint, if you will, is a certain footprint as required, we have expanded to include, things that are not necessarily on Main Street or even technically near Main Street. But we encourage everybody to participate in and be part of that, and we welcome that because we really want things to happen and be supported by as many businesses as we can, and to be supportive of those businesses, especially new ones coming in during challenging times like this, where we can't network as much right now because of some things shuttering. So that's one of the things that I'm part of, and making sure that things happen in the community for events, volunteers, collaborating with people to make things new happen, and challenging our downtown group to really step up and figure out some new things that we can do to support them.
That's awesome. And I'll just expand on the Rockcoast Entrepreneurs. So the Rockcoast Entrepreneurs originally was the Rockcoast Networkers, and basically they were trying to be the cheaper version of the BNI, which is the Business Networking Institute, which is a very expensive membership based, and it's referrals, attendance, and all that fun stuff. And we said last year, just like many different organizations, BNI has been really struggling with membership, and the Rockcoast Networkers were really struggling with attendance and what have you. And so we really said, where are we in this community? Like, how do we fit? And we said, we need more entrepreneurial, support. Have to be able to share some of our experiences. We have to create some opportunity to engage our different organizations. So we started bringing in, like, Rockland Main Street became a member, the Penn Bay Chamber became a member, Department of Labor started to come, and so that way we have this resource for entrepreneurs, new and old, to be able to step in and be able to surround themselves with people with some great knowledge, build a strong network, and basically grow together, which is exactly what they do. So what we're going to do now is kind of dive right into, so our first meeting that we had, was 2 weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the community, this PBCC is what we'll call it. We sat down and said, all right, what are some of the gaps? And what were some of the gaps that we had figured out? Brandy, do you remember some of those gaps?
Yeah, so we had talked about networking events, having events where the public can meet the businesses in the area that they wouldn't normally see, participation and communication between the different businesses, and having a steady, like a constant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that PM networking hour was going to be missed the biggest.
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest.
Oh, the business
missed
after hours.
for business after hours.
Sure.
As well as something there in that springtime, which is the expo. So I think a lot of the dialogue that we had were focusing on some of those key ingredients,
Absolutely.
some
Yeah.
easy target spots, if you will, without trying to take on too much at once.
Absolutely, and that was a big part of it, was that each of our organizations have our niche and our segment, but boy, if we combine these focuses together, we can actually be able to pull these things off. And we all agreed is that the first thing that we want to tackle is the expo. So to the listeners, is that the expo is going to happen. The logistics on how it's going to happen, it's in process right now. And I would just say is to our listeners, if you have experience in the past for some of these expos, we need you. So, it's going to be a great effort. I know that talking to Connie and his team over at the Samoset, they are willing to hold the date for us. So we're looking at, I think, the third week of March. I believe that's what it is. Second or third.
Pretty quick.
It is. Yeah. So we're going to be meeting again this Thursday night, and we're going to be we're just going to hit the ground running on in regards to that. But to everyone, is that this is going to be an effort that it's not just going to be our three organizations. We've actually said, hello, Lincolnville Business Group, hello, Waldeboro Business Group, Downtown Group 4, Thomaston, St. George Business Alliance, and so many other organizations that have saying, hey, we want you to participate in this too. Together, we can really make this thing awesome. And so those folks are going to be added to the PBCC as well. So I'd love to talk to you, Eric. Just talk about CABG's plan to bring back the Business Expo and partnering with the PBC to ensure its reach across communities. So how do you think your organization's role will be in that?
Yeah, I think we've got a good email base and a good audience of speaking to. We're pretty successful with our monthly meetings, which we call Connect Over Coffee, which are held on the first Wednesday of every month from 8 to 9 at rotating locations. Member businesses are welcome to businesses and residents alike that may not be members.
Right.
So I think our message out there is definitely going to be helping in marketing and getting the word out. This is still so new in the infant stages. It all hit us right before the holiday season. We're all kind of coming out of the new year into this cold tundra and thawing out. And a lot of our groups have different discussions that we normally have during this time of year of how we're gearing up for the season. So these are new items that are getting attached to our agendas. Yeah. So I think as this group with the PBCC, as we will call it, defines more information to get back out to those groups, I think it'll be helpful there. I think right now it's still so much in its infant stages on how each group can help, but I do think it's going to be through their connections and through their marketing pieces.
So when do you do your Connect Over Coffee?
Connect Over Coffee is held on the first Wednesday of each month.
Okay, great. That's awesome. And Brandy, when it comes to, I know that we talk about Expo, but we also talk about, the business after hours, which I know was a big thing that you absolutely loved. And as you mentioned, you met us there and so many others. And
Hundreds of others.
I mean, it's a staple. So can you tell me a little bit about Rockland Main Street, about some of the networking opportunities that that the organization's created, and how you see the benefit of us all supporting bringing back the business after hours?
Yes. So we do something called Morning on Main. It's the second Tuesday morning of every month. It also rotates based on who is willing to host or available to host. And we've got that calendar filled actually quite quickly, to my surprise, for this year. And so we kind of go around and talk a little bit about each of the things that are going on with our businesses or what's happening in town. And we will reach out about different events that are going on and promote for each other. And then I do our socials and promotions of anything else that's going on. And we just really get together to kind of stay in touch and then see what each other needs, in addition to saying, here's what's going on, because there really is a whole lot going on. And it's hard as someone who's not connected to know. And I joke with people when I meet them for the first time sometimes and say, I'm Google Rockland because I'm connected to so many people via Business After Hours, Rockland Main Street, the different events that I go to, the different things that I have done in the community. And so many people are like, Brandy will know the answer to that. So I'm just going to ask Brandy instead of looking for it anywhere else, which is great. But I feel like there's so many people that are disconnected from things. And with the chamber shuttering, our organization stepping up to fill that gap and having someone, a resource that people can rely on for a steady information piece is really quite key. Because, for someone like me, I love networking. That's where I make new friends. I learn about new businesses. That's where I can share their information. And for the people that don't go to those kinds of things, that still need to know about what's going on in our community and the new businesses that are coming up, they have no idea that we're there. Because they don't either come downtown or, as you know, like they don't travel to those little outer streets sometimes. That's important, I think, for all of us to buckle down and really promote each other.
Yeah.
So
Erick, so you got the Camden Area Business Group, also known as CABG. So it's just not the one meeting a month. You guys do several different events throughout the year for networking opportunities. Yeah. So can you share with some of those other networking opportunities that you guys have done in the past?
Yeah, so CABG is made up by a board of directors, and through those board of directors form different committees that other businesses sit on. Coming in through these months right now, a couple of committees are usually established to get off the ground and running. One is our 4th of July committee for raising funds for the 4th of July fireworks in Camden Harbor. And then there's what's known as Camden is Blooming, which is a huge event just to celebrate Camden opening, well, not that it ever really closes, but opening back up and unwraps itself for the new season coming. We usually have a networking event for the members during that time, and we try to do a fall social if we can as well in October. We made it through. So ongoing with the monthly meetings, those are the two larger networking events that CABG puts on, more so like a cocktail party.
Sure.
Through other committees with Christmas by the Sea. And that's probably our biggest committee run event. Obviously it's very large through the holidays, just like with Rockland. There's a lot of moving parts. We have to make sure Santa's in the right spot and the parade is getting, so it's an amazing collaboration with the town as well. Because the town holds the ingredients for the parades. Yeah. And that's really what Camden Area Business Group again works hard to do is connecting community to residents, and sometimes we are that liaison to the town. Right. And we've been asked to sit on other discussion groups with the town through pathway committees or beautification committees. So, but circling back to that networking piece is, I know that a lot of our members will miss that PM networking hour. We're already doing like Rockland's doing that morning piece, which is really great because you get a whole
Right.
different audience. And it's a great way to start the day. It's an hour long, usually for us in Camden. Coffee's provided, and go around in circles and talk about what's going on in each other's businesses. And that's where we get to kind of voice upcoming things and some new stuff that's happening.
Yeah, and I remember last year there was a toast to hospitality, or what was that? I remember that was
Toast to Tourism.
Toast to Tourism. That's exactly right. Yeah,
That was a
a great one there,
collaboration. A collaboration with Maine Tourism Association.
Which is
So that was Maine Tourism Association that puts that throughout the entire state, and they'll work with local chambers or business groups, whichever area they're going to.
Yeah.
And so that was a really nice high member turnout, or high, actually just attendance turnout overall. But the folks at Maine Tourism Association do a wonderful job. And they are here, and they remind us constantly to help speak the word of what we're doing in these towns. So we have to look at our resources as the
Yeah.
PBCC continues as well. So
Yeah, and you have a nice little connection to the MTA, right?
maybe. Yes, I do sit as a board member to
Yeah.
MTA. I've been on for a few years. That first year, as anybody's on a board, you kind of sit back and watch in awe as you're looking around the room at some really nice, strong, smart-minded folks and individuals, and you're almost at one point in time you're kind of second guessing yourself, why am I sitting here? But then
Yeah.
you warm up to it. But I've been really, really impressed with what the Maine Tourism Association does for the business community now in the state of Maine, as it connects to the state or the Department of Tourism, right? So what's unique and why Maine Tourism Association speaks so strongly to the word tourism, I feel like I'm just keep saying tourism right now, but there's many jobs within the state that they may not feel like they are tourism based.
Right.
However, there's a strong connection that does make them a tourism business. So anyone coming out of school thinking they want to be a graphic designer, or they want to go into electronics or software management or building, there's a lot of stuff that connects back to let's just look at myself, for instance, what a hotel might seek for resources outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it's website designers, or it's plumbers, or technicians, or software that we're buying. So there's a lot of things that interwork, especially with artists and designers and contractors, where you may think
Yeah.
that you may not be a tourism business. A lot of our business in this state surrounds around it.
And I would just say is that I think tourism gets a really unfair, look sometimes, especially Mainers, where they're like, "Urgh." Just like growing up in Florida, it was during the wintertime when all the snowbirds would show up, and we were like, "Get out of here, snowbirds!" But at the end of the day, every single business in this state depends on tourism. If you like it or not, it's all part of it. If you're Automaster, your toes are probably on the lower side, and next thing you know, they come. And just the law of numbers, more vehicles, a higher risk of accidents, and here we go. That's just one example, right? But Larry could be like, I don't like those tourists. But I wouldn't say he's saying that. But I'm just just give an example of so many people are anti-tourism, but at the same time they depend on tourism. Our state gets so much revenue from lodging taxes, and I mean, that money we can have a different discussion another day about how our taxes are spent. But at the end of the day, it all goes part of our ecosystem and our financial system. So
Yeah,
that's
we all need each other.
Absolutely.
When I went to college, my degree is in hospitality management, and a lot of people go, "But you don't work in the hotel motel business." And I said, hospitality is 99% of what we do in Maine, and that is what we are taught when we take those classes, because every little piece is related to hospitality. Whether you are a front desk receptionist somewhere, whether it's at a dentist office or a hotel, motel, it's all related, because it's basically the nice fancy word for customer service
Absolutely.
to your guests.
You nailed it, because we used to talk about it right at Ardea. It's about the guest experience, our customer experience. Our customers are guests, and that experience is so important, because that experience is what they share and that happens to people that visit our area. And I would just talk about the Rock Coast entrepreneurs, about why we were at this table for the PBC, is that we see our value is that we have our meetings the first and third Thursday, and I think honestly we're probably going to go back to having them on a weekly basis. I think that our organization is going to do that, just so that way it'll give people more opportunities to be able to come, be able to network, but also to develop some workshops, some educational workshops that our entrepreneurs absolutely need. It's about speaker events, about bringing in guest speakers, because one of the things that we'll probably talk about is the PBCC is, like business breakfast. Those were huge, and it's really big for all the different areas in the state. They'll have these business breakfasts, and the most recent one had the state economic. What was her role? Amanda Rector. So state economist. And then we also had the state chamber. Woodcock was there as well as a guest, and so be able to hear those two different, visions and what they're working on. It was really good to be able to see, and we have to be able to continue to do that. So that educational aspect, those are the things that that we're going to be working on as the Rock Coast entrepreneurs. So let's talk about building a united front. As I had stated, we are not the chamber. The PBCC is not the new Chamber of Commerce. Okay. Even though I was interviewed by someone, by a local newspaper, and when I was just doing a nice, simple press release about how the Rock Coast entrepreneurs were stepping up, but all they heard was, we're stepping up along with other organizations, which I named all the organizations. And I said, we're all stepping up to be able to fill some of these gaps. And what does it say in the headlines? Everybody thinks that Rock Coast Entrepreneurs is the next, the next Chamber of Commerce. The PBCC is not the next Chamber of Commerce. Folks, it would be irresponsible for anyone to develop a brand new Chamber of Commerce when the chamber recently closed. Like, that needs time to process. We need the community to understand what gaps are out there. This is kind of like that step one, like identifying the role of what a chamber would be in the future. It's going to take these types of steps for us to be able to determine, but this is a long time coming. So I just, I'd like to get your perspective on that too, is like how are you going to do that with your members to make sure that they understand that you're not the, the next Chamber of Commerce? Like basically stay in your lane groups, but how do we still work together at the same time? So Brandy, go ahead.
I think for me, personally and in my role, I think that it really is important, truly our conversations via emails and our meetings so far have been truly a collaborative effect of what can we do, what needs to be addressed now for all of our area businesses that we all connect with, who are feeling that crunch right now of what's next. It's always a little scary when you're like, something big happens, and really it's just about discussing, what is next. Let's look to the future. Let's figure out what we can all do to support each other. What do you want to see? What do you want to participate in? What events do you want to see? What type of participation do you want to be, going forward in this group or any group that gets, kind of made up? Do you want to step up and be part of that? So that will be some of my focus this coming month, actually, to our members and people that are on our email distribution list, to discuss, not what happened, but what can we do to support anything going forward, and what ideas do you want me as your representative in this collaborative, communication that we're having. It's not even really a group yet, because we have yet to be determined holes to fill of more people to invite into the conversation. We're just kind of keeping it low key. What do we want to do to start? Who should be part of this conversation? When should they be part of this conversation? When should we start to act? What are the things we need to do right now to ensure that our community is not feeling a huge crunch. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on this month with our members to find out what they want going forward, so I can bring it back to our meeting.
That's smart, Brandy. Have you had any conversation with your board members, your fellow board members?
Not yet. Karen Littlefield, who is our business manager for Rockland Main Street Inc., she attended the last board meeting and kind of conveyed our messages from our last meeting to kind of present that unified, like, we're not starting a new chamber.
Yeah.
We are partnering with and collaborating with these different area groups to see what we can fill for now and then present later.
Have you heard any feedback from that at all? Like, I'm just
I have not.
okay. That's all
I
right.
have not yet.
Great message. Same to the board. Right off the bat, we had to say, look, stay in our lane, like you said, Chris. This is what we have to focus on, what we do well, and
Yes.
and remind our members what our organizations do for them. So many years, even with the chamber in place, a lot of people would say or ask the question, why do I have a membership in both areas? And you have to remember what both did so many great things for their business. Whether the chamber was a larger light bulb to the area, the lighthouse, right? So I always looked at the light as the
Sure.
logo. That was the lighthouse that brought light to the entire region. And then each one of our organizations were the spotlights in what we were doing. So there was a lot of when the chamber merged, there was a lot of identity figuring out of each group to say, what are we going to do? What are they doing? So that we're not diluting the message. That cliche line, too many chefs in the kitchen, if you will. Just to make sure. And I think what this is going to do is it's just going to shine each group a little bit brighter. Say, oh, that's what they're working on. And then as they know what they do well and almost become autopilot, then they can take on these new initiatives for their members without going a driving force too far that's going to dilute the message. And then you have all these groups doing the same thing. So this community collaboration, as we're talking, is going to be really strong to get all the heads around the table.
And same question for you. Like, so you've had a board meeting since we've met, and what was their first initial thoughts on it? And just full disclosure, it's okay.
Yeah, no. I think a lot of relief as far as knowing that nobody around the table was forcing anybody to become the chamber. We knew we were going to get asked the questions, whether it's town related or resident related, that folks were going to come to us for a question here and there. We haven't heard too much. Again, this is really coming out of the holiday season into the new year. A lot of businesses may be on vacation, or this is their vacation time. So the thaw really hasn't begun. I think the expo is the thaw.
Sure is.
But to really look at what we could be doing as an organization. Now, there were already things we were working on prior to this information in December. And it's actually now public news with emailers that'll be coming out, that we were working on a special piece with Down East Magazine as of this late summer, early fall, to do a focus of the Camden region. So there's going to be some efforts there that'll work for some advertising draw and potentially some supporting towns as we've been working with Down East. So our last board meeting included Down East to talk about a little bit more logistical aspects of that. But we would see a print come out, a magazine focus for a summer planner, if you will, for their May issue.
Okay.
And so a lot of things in Down East world gears were turning, I'm sure, before that happened. So whether or not they were in front of us at that time, we were oblivious to it. But we still saw it as a great venture for membership and for the town. We do it every couple of years with them.
Yeah.
So it was about on time and on target. So we'll see some information coming out within the next week or two, as how people can advertise in there, and then what sort of supporting message we can do for the entire region as well. So, not saying it replaces the jewel, but it certainly gives us something of a light
Sure.
in some darkness here. And now necessarily doesn't mean that if it's Camden related, doesn't mean it's not Rockland, because there's a lot of folks who stay in Rockland and I'm meeting them in Camden, or vice versa. Like, we want the Midcoast to shine in any way we can to showcase what we're considering I think Danny's put it well with like unpack here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, stay longer and then take some day trips and go around and see the rest of the world. So
We need these visitors to be converted to residents. And a lot of people say, and I'm not saying that we need to have an influx of, retirees looking for this is where they want to settle down after their career. We want career people or people who want to settle their families or themselves and establish themselves in a wonderful place with clean water, clean air. And I think we're going to see the continued migration of people because of those factors. But we got to take advantage of when they're here and say, we want you to stay. We want you to open up a business here. We want you to become an employee here. We want you to lead a team here. We want you to do all these things, not just come visit. We want you to stay too, which is a really cool thing. For the Rock Coast entrepreneurs, when I first brought this to everyone, and I said, here is what we're looking at, their first knee-jerk reaction was, we don't do events, Chris. And I'm like, we're not doing events. We got to stick into our lane, which is networking and education. So how can we help with that? Well, number one, we know the value of having an expo. An expo, listen, I'm one that I don't want to be in my booth. I don't want to. And Brandy, you used to be part of my team back in the day, and as you know, no, I don't want any part of just sitting in that booth. It is fun for a short amount of time, but I like to mingle. That's the networking aspect of the expo. And so for our organization, we're like, yeah. So we need to surround ourselves with people who know how to run events. I would say Rockland Main Street and Camden Area Business Group, as well as the St. George Business Alliance and some of these other groups, they know exactly how to run some of these events, and it's going to take a team effort for sure to be able to do that. But that was our first thing, was like, so who's doing this expo? Because just like your organization, just like Rockland Main Street, it is a volunteer organization. These are people who wear many, many hats.
yeah.
They have different roles on many different boards sometimes. They have their own business and big responsibilities. And this is not their daily job. Even though sometimes membership may feel a bit different. They feel like they are there at all times. But at the end of the day, this is above and beyond what we do on our daily jobs and our families and what have you. So it's so important that we're going to need to be able to unify a group in order to be able to do that. So how do you think we can create a roadmap for sustained community and economic growth? That's a really deep question, but how can we do that as citizens and groups?
I think on my side of things, with staying in the lane, we actually are supported quite a bit, and I'm in communications personally, and a lot of board members are as well, with our local city councilors. We're in constant communication with them about the events that we want to do, the things we want to try. They're very supportive of us. Not only do I feel like a few of them are really personal cheerleaders for a lot of the community events, not just necessarily ours, and are present and are there and supportive of all of the events, things that we want to try. The city also supports us monetarily each year as a small portion of it, of our operating budget. But, that's one of those things, being able to be in constant communication with your local representatives, whether they're the city or the town that you're in, or the Knox County area, or even our state representatives, being in communication with them, hearing what is going on in our communities with them, what the needs are, what the things are that we can and can't do per se. And I think that that's a big piece that a lot of people don't think about, is collaborating with, your local and state governments, because if you don't have their support, some of those things don't happen. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the pieces that I really rely on in my role with Rockland Main Street is constant communication and getting support and feedback from our local city councilors.
And there's a distinct difference between Camden Area Business Group and Rockland Main Street. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people think that Camden Area Business Group is a Main Street organization, which is Can you just explain the difference, Eric?
Certainly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I know at one point in time that the town was looking at formulating a Main Street organization.
Which is what created the Connect Over Coffee.
Correct. Yeah, it was actually through their community development director. It was one step to get towards to one of those items. And what Camden Area Business Group has done in the past is if something falls and it's working really well, or has been, or people found value in it, we've kind of picked up the pieces and figured out how that then is branded by Camden Area Business Group. Our members our focus isn't just a drive on Main Street. Well, Main Street in Camden is a very small segment. And that was one of the challenges for the town as they looked at something such for a setup, if you will, because it quickly turns to Elm Street or it turns to High Street. So you only have a certain amount of businesses you could focus on, and it's Camden as a whole. It was the Camden Downtown Business Group for a long time. Mm-hmm. So it was encompassing this downtown, but you had all these businesses knocking on your door, like up in the Rennie's Plaza, that weren't necessarily in the downtown area, that were like, hey, we have this great initiative, or this great want to help or want to be a part of. Yeah. And we were struggling at the time. The re-strategy and focus around 2016 became the Camden Area Business Group, which then included the old realm of what was the Camden Rockport Lincolnville Chamber of Commerce. Without becoming the Chamber of Commerce, it was looking to your surrounding neighbors and seeing what great resources could focus on the greater name of Camden, but they knew they felt the benefits of the marketing piece of that light shining on there. And I think that answers a little bit of the question that you were asking, Brandy, as well, was that we need to make sure we're doing what we do really well, not taking on things too far and diluting the rest of the message to spur more or stronger economic growth and wanting people to move here. Because if they come here and they see summer solstice and it's like, wow, that event is just a switch, like they just know what they're doing. Or they come to Camden Area Business Group's event, Christmas by the Sea, and it's like, oh, there's Hallmark, Reimagine, all this stuff, and it's doing it really well. That's driving forces for people to be like, I gotta live there. I gotta be part of this. This is like something that's going on. And then more so, as we look at our resources surrounding us, we're not gonna be able to do this as just the Camden Area Business Group or the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs to be able to say, oh, we're gonna pull this chamber off. Because we're gonna learn from each other's groups that there's somebody else that's untapped yet, and they can sit on the committee and they can teach us. So we can't take on something that we may not necessarily know well. We have to look at other people that may. So a lot of times it's the people that are coming to the questions or that have the questions for you. Like, hey, what are you going to do about this? Or then you start to ask the questions back. What do you think we should do? And then you learn that they may have a little more knowledge about it. Say, hey, would you mind sitting in this meeting for a couple of times and just have us pick your brain? Because I'm a hotelier. I'm not necessarily an economic specialist of downtown. So, but I want to help. So that's what got me into the chamber. It got me into the Camden Area Business Group. It got me onto Maine Tourism Association. It got our organization into a lot of other boards. It's because we have this want, this greater good of want for the entire state, but also for our area. So
and this influx of people that are moving here from out of state, like nobody knows them. Maybe a few people know them in the community, like the small communities like St. George, and who's that new person that moved over there? And you get the little town talk, and but then they're like, well, what do they do? What's their background? Do they sell cars? Do they have a business? Do they do online marketing? And then you have to really get to know people, and again, comes back to networking and knowing people and getting to know people, having a conversation. It's not scary, it really isn't. And then you learn more about people. Like, I do a lot of transactional house things with my job number one, and I talk to them. I'm like, what do you do there? What are you going to do when you move here? And and I get pieces of information from them so that I can share with them everything that's great about our communities. And you'd love this, and make suggestions for them. And you should talk to so and so and get them in touch, because you can't just move here and not know anyone and not do anything and be part of the community. You really need to dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important. So some of the things that I've been taking from your input on this subject is that it's amazing to see how involved the city council is in Rockland. Okay, Rockland is unique in Knox County. Is that I don't think that would change their approach of how active they are and how involved they are. That council, I don't think that would change if they had $0 contribution to Rockland Main Street. I think they would be doing that anyway. I know talking to like Councilor Lockman, like
They're very involved.
Very involved,
Sure,
like
yeah.
having conversations about these gaps that are out there, and we're very, very lucky in our community. And listen, I don't live in Rockland, but I visit Rockland. My business is moving to Rockland for these reasons. But also too, we also see where there's some great successful events. You guys have all kinds of great events, but the ones that are really above and beyond, it's because you have the town of Camden involved in the process, right?
Yeah.
And I just gotta say is that all the other towns have got to do the same exact thing. And for all of this, for the PBCC to work, it's not just the three organizations here representing this organization today.
Right.
It's not just the St. George Business Alliance joining us. It's not Lincolnville Business Group working with us. It's not Union Chamber of Commerce. It's not it's all of us working together, but also too our municipal leaders joining into this as well. But also reaching out to those organizations like Hospitality Maine, the Maine Tourism Association, Maine Office of Tourism. I will tell you, just in having conversations just this past week, those organizations have a vested interest in this working out, about how all these organizations are stepping up. Because one thing that we can all agree upon, we didn't necessarily work well together in the past.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
there was a lot of muddy
Yeah.
water on. We're trying to figure out what everybody
Right?
did.
Yeah.
Yep.
There wasn't a lot of communication about, this is what we're planning on doing for the, winter season.
Right.
And, like, for instance, with our two organizations, we have ours, and then the next weekend is Christmas by the Sea. So,
Yeah,
we're,
Rockport fell in somewhere.
Yeah.
In the
and
mix.
then there's like, let's fill a hole here, let's fill a hole here, let's fill a hole here.
Yeah.
But we're not competing with each other. One of the things I think coming up this summer that people have just recently started talking about was the announcement of the Union Fair dates. And that coincides with the Maine Lobster Festival dates this year. And so how is that going to work? Because it's always been a completely separate week. Weeks
That's
apart.
unfortunate, right?
Yeah, weeks
I'm just
apart.
gonna be honest. My knee-jerk reaction right now is
But
that's unfortunate because
I
Rockland-
also see it as an opportunity.
okay,
Because
all right.
some of the
kinda like
people
it.
that
All right.
that are coming to the area for the Maine Lobster Festival miss the Union Fair. And so they're going to miss some of those things that are totally different about our area. Whereas if they're there for the week or the weekend, they can hit both and see them. So even though it's like a knee-jerk reaction of what are they thinking, it's really
Yeah.
I think seeing it from a different perspective of not just being a local is that it's an opportunity for them to see the overlap of there's people here during this week. There's thousands of people
Sure.
here this week visiting. Maybe we can build on that because our organization has been struggling the last couple of years with attendance and different things that we're trying to get to happen.
Sure.
Lack of volunteers is always, always, always one of those things that affects that. So while they're trying something new, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? That's also going to create an overlap between the two organizations of, hey, we've got people that don't usually hit during this week and don't usually hit during this week, and they can do both. And so they can see what both of those towns and cities and those groups are doing. And really, I think that if they had to do anything, rather than being a week after each other necessarily, building off of that this could be an opportunity for them to learn something, or it could be a yearly thing where, we've got two things going on. They're in two different areas, but they're still Knox County,
Sure.
related.
Yeah, and one of the things I would just say is that when we've looked at our history for the Penobscot Bay area, is that you had 4 chambers that consolidated, right? So you had 4 different mindsets that came together. There's probably a fallout or two that took place. Somebody said, well, they're definitely not going to be able to do it as good as we can do it. And next thing you know, you have this group promoting this thing, another group promoting this thing, and it's actually everybody who has the same common goal, is that we're trying to reach an audience. We want people to stay, play, all these wonderful things. We want all of our businesses to succeed. We want to network. We want to grow with one another. We want success together and all these things. Yet we were all in our little independent silos, working as little bees for our little hives, and not necessarily, working together, creating this almost like a competition model. And honestly, I saw that quite a bit. But now we have an opportunity where we can actually engage with each other, because you just brought up something really interesting. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because as a citizen, I had a knee-jerk reaction of, why would Union have their fair on the same week that has always been like the same week for the Lobster Festival? Why are we competing?
Yeah.
But you had a very, very open-minded approach of, well, this is actually could be beneficial, sort of like, I'm just thinking, Rockland Main Street as their Festival Lights Parade, right? A week later is always Christmas by the Sea. If you are a holiday nut, why would you not want to come to Midcoast, stay at one of these wonderful places in Camden or Rockland or Rockport or wherever, Airbnb? There's so many places that you can stay. It's delicious food, amazing area. You have all these little markets that are happening. Imagine if the PBCC, this group, was to actually come up with a plan. And who else could we coordinate with? It could be MOT could be involved in this, right? Who else could be involved? What are some of the other organizations we could, like MTA, the Maine Tourism Association? They could hop in and kind of like help promote this as well. Like, this is why St. George, they have stuff that's going on. They have their dragon thing that's going on, and Thomaston, yes, there's so much that's happening, and we could actually create a destination. And there's a community that right here in Midcoast as well. Look at what happened in Booth Bay. Booth Bay was dead after Labor Day. Like, everybody just left. Matter of fact, the water gets shut off in October for half the area. Yet their Gardens Aglow transformed their region to creating a new season for people, which is just amazing. So these are all exciting stuff. I would like to just really talk about, just our vision is that, and we're going to continue to work on, our schedule. We're going to invite people, but I would just say is that, just to call out, if you are in an organization and would like to participate in this PBCC, the Penobscot Bay Community Collaboration, it sounds good, Eric, right?
Rolls off the tongue pretty well.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking, it is accurate, right? Because it's not business.
Yep.
It's not the BC, right? It's community, because every type, if you are a citizen, if you're a nonprofit, if you're a student, you have a voice in this. And I would just say call out is that we all know that there's a gap that's going to be left in our community from the chamber closing. But there's no reason why, as citizens and as leaders, that we can't all work together to create a common goal, be able to work together, be able to put on some great events, some great educational opportunities, networking opportunities, collaborate, all these, collaborations that we could do. Because if we all work together, we're going to strive together, and we're going to win together as well. So I would just like to take the last couple of minutes here is just, so Camden Area Business Group, how can people learn about the Camden Area Business Group, some of the events that you have, your Connect Over Coffee, where can they learn more?
Certainly. So each committee does have its own specific, usually Facebook posts, but there is a Camden Area Business Group page. It's known as the Camden Main Experience. But really a driving force is our website, CamdenMainExperience.com. More information can also be emailed to info@CamdenMainExperience.com. You can get placed on the email list there. That is one of our biggest avenues of getting information out through our emailer. come to a Connect Over coffee. The next one, first Wednesday of February. It'll be held at Equinox Guiding Service on Mechanic Street in Camden from 8 to 9. Come over and see what Noah and that group are doing. It's ice climbing season. So let's go talk about some crazy stuff that we never even think about.
And when you talk to Noah, you would never know. Like, you'd never know. Like,
Yeah.
what?
So first Wednesday of February, 8 to 9, Equinox Guiding Service. Come and just learn more. It's our groups are community focused, and it's not just straight up business members. We want everybody there. So,
And I must say
Asking the
is that
questions.
the website is gorgeous. I know it was expensive, but it is nice. It is very nice. So let's talk a little bit about how can people learn more about Rockland Main Street?
Sure. They can email me directly, programs@rocklandmainstreet.org. They can come to our next Morning on Main, which is going to be held at the Bixby Chocolate Factory, which is just off of Main Street. So again, not just Main Street, but just off of Main Street, on the corner of Tilson and C Street. We start at 8 o'clock, and we do have some members of our community that come in, and it's not just the businesses, and it's not just the businesses on Main Street. And we talk about a lot of things going on in the community, things that you wouldn't normally hear about. And that's a way to learn more. And then our website is rocklanddowntown.org. And that's where we have a lot of our events and things posted. We're in the process of updating right now, switching from the seasonal items that we have to posting our new Mornings on Main as they just got scheduled. So
Awesome. And the Rock Coast Entrepreneurs, we meet the first and third Thursday at URock, which is the Breakwater Building right there in Rockland. On the fourth floor, we meet from 8 to 9 a.m. Be a guest of ours. We do not meet again until the first Thursday of February, but definitely be a guest. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to the Rock Coast entrepreneurs.org website. Also, we have a website where we're live today for this. Our Facebook page. And just be my guest. You can also email me at chrisaustin@ardia.com if you have any questions in regards to that. We are building a new email address to go along with our website, so that way it'll be info@rockcoastentrepreneurs.org. But we're working through those right now. We should have that up a little bit later this week. Just stay tuned on this page, because we'll continue to have some great updates on this. So thank you, listeners. Thank you, guests, for coming today. And we'll talk to everyone soon. Thank you.